Lucy, Liv, it's so nice to finally get together. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, gorgeous.
I think we're supposed to look in each other's eyes when we do that.
Oh, no.
Bad luck.
Life. It's not bad sex life.
So, Lucy, tell me, how is things going at Airship?
It's going really well. Yeah, I mean, it's been a mental year. We have put so much work and so much money into developing the platform. So Airship has come a long way. We're going to have a whole new server, and without talking too techy, literally, basically like a new back office. So the way that what it will look like to a client using it is it's going to be faster, it's going to be better, it's going to be AI, it's going to be all the fun technology. And yeah, that's landing. In fact, by the time this webinar comes out, it will be live on everyone's account.
Exciting.
Nice. Yes.
So the purple branding.
Yeah, so there's going to be a bit of a launch with it, a small bit of new branding as well, which is exciting. The idea of it is just like the future and next generation of CRM, which is already here, but it's just about kind of reeling off what that includes.
Yeah.
And then obviously we're now in what I consider the run up to Christmas,
Yes.
which is just absolutely mental. So yeah, toggle planning all the campaigns for Christmas and getting customers to actually really think about this in advance.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a summer campaign that's launched at the moment till the end of July. If you come on board and sign before the end of July, then we're giving all the onboarding completely for free. And the real reason behind that is to not give our customer success team a bottleneck when it comes to Christmas, because it's just everyone wants toggle, everyone wants to do gift cards, which is amazing, but you know, we're human and we do everything by hand basically. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on at the minute. And then obviously I've got my new role as head of commercial.
Yeah, congratulations.
Well done. We can cheers to that one.
Yeah, cheers again.
So yeah, that's been really, really fun. Working on like our professionals, like you guys, working more closely with you. And yeah, it's been a really, really good start to the year, I think. How's it been for you, Liv?
Yeah, much of the same, I think. Super busy, churning out audits and health checks and staying on board with my clients, seeing them sort of extend and carry on, which is great for me. I love working with them. Obviously, my role sort of is multifaceted in terms of sales, a little bit of marketing now, which has been really exciting for me. Working really closely with a couple of clients on that. And yeah, audits. Really busy time. We always see it about this time of year because people want to, which is great. I love that people are sort of getting in a little bit earlier and earlier every year, because the importance of Christmas and being organised and knowing what you have in your arsenal and actually what you need to make improvements on before that really busy and profitable time comes is great.
Yeah, I agree. We've been, you know, these audits have really been ramping up, and you know, we look at these audits, we look at, you know, everything from sort of the tech stack and the data and the bookings all the way through to that customer journey, that sales toolkit, you know, as Liv said, you know, it's about that arsenal, you know, everything from B2B, B2C, all that stuff, loyalty, CRM, everything like that. We work with these clients on to make sure that they're optimizing everything in the right way. And we've actually also seen a huge uptake, probably about up 200% sort of versus last year on training.
Amazing.
So we've got a lot of training clients at the moment, a lot of bespoke stuff, you know, a lot of stuff we're working with on, again, people starting to see this thing earlier and earlier, as Liv said, and really making sure that everyone's got the right tools and the skill set in order to sort of, you know, drive those sales as we go into Christmas. So a lot of bespoke stuff for ops, you know, it's really important to make sure the ops teams are getting involved, but also, you know, the whole sales marketing piece alongside it. So the importance of working together in that sort of holy trinity, should I say.
Yeah. And that investment into your team, I think, you know, especially obviously we've come out of COVID and we're getting back to, you know, regular times again. It's really great to see people investing back into people and say, actually, you know, the systems and AI is improving all the time and really excelling, and they want to put that money back into their team so they can also be on that same level, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I remember sort of towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, a lot of the insight that was coming out in hospitality was the trends in where businesses were investing their money, as you say, and it was employee, it was tech, and we actually brought out beginning of this year Airship Teams, which is the use of Airship but for your internal comms. Which when I saw the insights, I was like, oh, well, perfect timing. We didn't really necessarily know that it was the perfect timing, but yeah, it's proven to be really successful. So
yeah, and I think that's good to see that you're seeing that trend as well. it's about people investing. There used to be that problem with recruitment, and now it's also just making sure that everyone's keeping their skill set and growing constantly. People's careers are really important to them, right? So being able to make sure they're trained and keeping and making tech. And I've always said, and Liv, you'll know this, and Lucy, you probably heard me say it before, but I often say that tech should never replace anything; it should always enhance. So tech enhances, and so if you can adopt that technology and grow with it, and when you're putting great new improvements and things like that, then working alongside it is always really great.
I think it's also not forgetting that tech is going so far with AI and things, but we still have the beauty at the moment where tech still requires people, and your tech, you can invest in the tech, but it's actually only as good as the people using it. And investing in that training piece. So if you're going to spend all this money on tech but not spend or invest in the people to use it, you're never going to get the return on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also comes down, there's like a little bit of accountability for the individual as well. There's loads of talk. I remember as everyone started to talk about AI and it started getting included in like the conferences and stuff we go to.
The buzzwords.
Everyone's talking about AI.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in marketing, which is our general audience, were worried that it was going to replace their role, and that's really not the case. But it's your responsibility to be clued up on it and understand how you can utilize it. Because if you don't, someone else will. And that's where you've got to think about what strengths can you bring to your next role or your current role. Because AI is not going away.
Yeah,
it's going to get stronger
and
faster.
Get better.
Yeah, and I think we've got a whole bit that we can kind of dive into AI, and we could talk about AI for ages, machine learning and everything like that. But what I wanted to ask as well and see from your side, to be honest, Lucy, because we see obviously there's been a huge thing of it. It's only been a couple of days since the Euros wrapped up. So what have you seen with your clients? What have you seen within Airship and Toggle, and what's it been like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think some of the most powerful use cases that I've seen, and bearing in mind, it's only just happened, so there's probably loads more to come from it, but is people really making the most of the people that are actually in the venue. So obviously the way that Airship works is that we connect to a load of different data sources. So whether it be Wi-Fi, bookings, loyalty, e-post data, ordering data, the list goes on. There's about 16 different pots of data, 17 different pots of data. And the benefit of knowing when someone's in your venue is, first of all, they've made a booking, they're perhaps logging into the Wi-Fi, they're leaving a little bit of data about themselves. And there's some really clever tech out there now with the likes of like Fidelia, where you can have that gamification of the person's experience in the venue. So, log into Wi-Fi, encourage them to log into Wi-Fi because then we collect the data. And get them to play a bit of a game at the end. And what we can also do is trigger them some sort of reward off the back of that. So you win the game, you can have it set so a certain amount of people win the game in a period of time and they get a free beer. But them getting a free beer plus all their friends are also going to get a beer, but pay for it. So I think it's really clever now how you can utilize the tech in your venue, not necessarily before they come. There's loads you can do before they come as well, but utilizing them whilst they're in the venue. And then we capture that data and we can then set up, some really smart post-visit journeys to encourage them to come back again or pre-book, all that kind of thing. So
I was going to talk about that. I think it's really great to see that out there and know that it can be personalised. So if you know someone or you're a venue where you need to drive a reason to stay, so obviously the reason to visit, let's say the Euros, very topical at the moment, that's the reason to visit, but what's the reason to stay, especially if it didn't go in England's favour and things like that. So great, you can use that and stay for a beer afterwards. You can use it same day. Then you've got some people staying, like you said, their mates buying another beer, or you know that you're going to have a pretty good time afterwards. You've got a DJ maybe, all those other reasons to stay. You can drive them back in next time. So that's great to see that sort of personalisation and making it work for you and each of your individual venues as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. I think it's that whole dwell time piece, getting them to stay for longer, or even in some instances, getting them to stay, getting them to come earlier for some of them. I know Wireless Social released some information around, they saw an absolute spike on logins of the Wi-Fi data at sort of 7 p.m. for the Euros final, which was actually an hour before, the game actually started. So it just goes to show the fact that people were there early, and that was a spike there. And it's about then, if people are coming in at that time, to Liv's point about staying longer? You know, how can you get them to do that? And I think from my, you know, my background's been a lot more around very data driven. You know, I've worked with from operational point of view, but also from a sales, but also working sort of that SaaS, you know, the Access Group and the Design My Night, what I used to work for, was a lot around, you know, how can you use that data and use it moving forward. And I think that's all kind of what we're saying is, you know, you've gathered so much information here. Then, you know, venues now need to look at how they're going to use it moving forward.
Absolutely. And I think hospitality are getting better at it. They're getting more savvy with their data. They're getting like understanding how to utilize it better, which is great because there's tools out there where you can enhance your understanding of it and actually track the results as well, which is something that historically has always been pretty difficult. But you know, I think we can still get better 100%. And you know, when people have those big spikes, and as we've just sort of mentioned around the Euros, you know, don't stop there, keep the momentum going, and utilize that new learning that you have from your customers to, you know, strategically use your CRM, segment those audiences based on spending, based on interest, based on size of group, you know, and then target those for Christmas, target them well early to be like, hey, we know that you came for the Euros in a group of 10. You thinking of doing a Christmas party? I mean, I'm sure there's a better message out there than that, but that kind of like concept.
What we often talk about with, you know, and what we were actually talking about with one of our clients yesterday and today was looking at those groups, because yes, it's not the Sunday games, for example, you know, there are going to be groups of friends, you know, some of the more Wednesday led games you might find a couple of corporates in there. So it's making sure to understand which ones are some corporate ones that you can target for Christmas, which ones can you do that more for gatherings and you know, occasion led, you know, bookings and get togethers from birthdays to again get together at Christmas. That's the angle that maybe you could take and understanding that. And again, those, you know, you mentioned group sizes. Again, we worked with a venue recently, or a group of venues recently, that saw, you know, their group sizes shoot up to sort of an average over this period of the Euros, up to sort of 13, 14 as an average. So, which is really exciting. But it's about, again, you've got to keep using that data again and again and again. And especially as, you know, the Olympics will be, again, I think when this comes out, the Olympics will be starting.
That's next week, right?
Yeah. And then again, next year you've got the Women's Euros, which obviously we saw, you know, with the Lionesses last year was really exciting. You know, there's going to be, you know, I anticipate that that's probably going to be bigger than before. I think there's a lot more.
I agree. I think them winning, you know, and doing the job, unfortunately, that the men couldn't do. No, which is great, you know, and it really drives the women's sport. And I think there are more people out there that want to watch it, and it's not just at home. People want to go to the venue and watch it now. And then winning that final, I think, will really push that agenda when they come into their next Euros.
And I think it's, you know, important not to forget the fact that we are still going through, hopefully, the back end of one, but you know, a bit of a crisis when it comes to people spending money. So really go hard on the fact that you've got packages, you know, say, come watch us for the Lionesses and we will give you, you know, if you book for a table of 6, we'll give you X, Y, Z, and really push the fact that it's a great value product. You know, you'll get those pre-bookings in and you can even collect the deposit. You know, there's loads of things you can do in that way now.
And I think that big sporting tournaments always bring people together, and that's why we see bigger groups. You know, we mirror that in Christmas. It's always bigger groups that are going out at Christmas. So this pool of data that you have now, and also sort of the need to wrap this data up and understand it, like you said, within your systems, but also sort of anecdotally on how it worked in the venue is super important going into Christmas, because it will be much of the same. Like it's a really big reason to visit. So what are we going to do, and what are our learnings and our takeaways, and how do we not just understand the data, but also understand what was our process before the Euros? How do we get all these people in? You know, can we improve it? Can we tighten it up? Or actually, was it fantastic? And we're going to mirror that as we go into Christmas, because it starts now.
Absolutely starts now. And I think, you know, there's, and, you know, going back to those sort of packages and again, what the process with all of that, you know, we've worked with groups, and I think actually the client I'm referring to, I think it's one of your clients as well.
Small world,
and that's how we work together so well. But, you know, we've worked with that client before where we, you know, looked at, can you do those packages or upsells for those types of occasions and celebrations, whether it's Euros or whether it's, again, those birthdays, those, you know, whatever it is. working with them to do that sort of upsell piece at point of booking, making it sort of automated, introducing that product, make it known that they can have that, if it's over 6, they can have that, whatever it is. And we worked with a venue that just by setting that up is, they get an extra sort of in pre-book revenue between £1 and £2 a week, and that's a single site.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting when you can do that. You can see just from an automation, you're instantly before they've even walked in that venue, right? They've got that money.
And that was before big sporting tournaments and Christmas. That's just day to day. People are actually looking. It's a mindset piece with the packages also, because if people, especially groups, which are more likely to do those point of booking sales for you, they are booking in advance, and there will be a payday in the middle. So you might make your booking, halfway through the month, and you're sort of saying, okay, we're going out to celebrate a friend's birthday, the 6th of us. Yeah, actually, we do want a couple of bottles of Prosecco, or, some buckets of beers and some food. They've pre-ordered it, and then their booking date comes in, 3-4 weeks, paydays come again. And that's girl math, free money. So they do spend more on the day as well. And I think there's a beauty in packages, sort of bringing it back to the big, Christmas and especially sporting tournaments, where there is a beauty of yield managing your packages. Yield managing is not just for hotels and room rates and things like that. You can manage, and it drives interest, and it says, hey, look, we're really popular, we're really busy, generate that interest. And it's not about taking money off people, it's about always having improvement in your packages. So you're saying, look, here's our early bird offer, book your package now, it's £15 a person and you get X, Y, and Z. But when these are sold out, then they're sold out. And there's great platforms that you can use on ticketing, and when they, you show that we've got 50% less, it really drives that interest. And then you already have them set up, so you don't have to go on and manage it. Just say, we're going to run 3 packages, when they sell out, we move to the next level. Gigs do it all the time. You go to drum sheds or wherever festivals, it's first release, second release. We can make use of that, and I don't think we're doing that enough at the moment. So I think there's a lot of learnings, but it's definitely one to have in your arsenal, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something that a lot of people use Toggle for, to be fair. So Ego Restaurants, a really nice example. So they did a flash sale, and actually they do one every now and then, but they do one specifically to their database, as opposed to it go out on social media or even on their website. And it's just a really simple message to say, for this flash sale Bank Holiday Monday only, there is a gift card available to buy with an added value. So buy it for £50, or buy it for 40 and get 50. Same expiry date, so you can spend it whenever you want in the first 12 months, but you can also sort of amend that if you want to, and have it only available for January or whatever you want to do, to drive that footfall. But the nice thing about it is they send it out to their database and position it in a way that's like a club special. You're my VIP, you're my, this is a surprise and delight.
That loyalty piece almost.
Yeah, absolutely. But actually, you're just utilising the data that you have, and it's really, really simple. I think the last one they did, they created generated £72,000 in a day. So it's so possible. Yeah, they had a conversion rate of about 30 or 40%. So
that's really good.
And I think people aren't doing that enough.
I think you said a really key buzzword there as well, which is added value. And I think sometimes, I think it goes a lot into your planning and also your understanding of your data. But if you get to a point, up to Christmas or a big tournament, or you're just needing to fill a weekend that's filling, a bit short, I think people go into sort of panic mode sometimes because we haven't planned far enough in advance or planned for eventualities that have, occurred, where then we get into that discounting round, which obviously we would try and avoid where possible, because if you keep discounting, people will come to you, but that has to go away at some point, and then you'll likely lose that customer because they'll go off and find that other discount. You're just chasing that discount really at the end.
Absolutely.
So what can we do that tells the customer that they're valued without discounting our product and damaging the brand a little bit? So I think that's really great.
Yeah.
I think you're on something there. I think the key word a lot around what we're talking about as well is the planning. And I know it's easy to say that we're all very busy people and venues and marketing teams and sales teams and operations teams are all really busy. But it is about planning. I saw a stat that was put out by one of my friends at the Access Group in relation to Collins bookings. So it was up from the minute that England won the round 16 match going into the quarterfinals. Bookings were up. I love football. I'm patriotic. I love it. But no, they showed a really great graph of an absolute steep uplift in within 10 minutes from when we won, there was 288% uplift, which is pretty
amazing.
And that shows if you weren't in that if you weren't prepared and planned in that 10-minute window, someone else would have been. So there's so many examples like that, and I think now to even further back up that case of that whole planning bit is, I'm just throwing stats out because I love a stat. I know that the guys at Feedback literally released today around their the NPS around on the England games. It was higher than it was when it wasn't an England game, for example. So again, that's a really good example of, both of those stats are really good examples of why you need to get ahead of that game, because you can capitalize on what already was the customers having really great experiences at those England games. But also, you're showing massive increases in bookings and stuff. So I think making sure you get ahead of that and capitalize on what's just happened to how you perform.
How do you think, and you're our systems guy, how do you think you do that? Because I think if we think about a lot of the games that happened, those 8 p.m. games when it's certainly probably not at your laptop, or, you'll not be able to turn those things on quickly. And I think also projecting for the next sort of World Cup in 2 years, it's going to be in America. There'll be those time differences, we're not sure where they sit yet. So what can people do from a systems perspective and have preset that they don't have to worry about when they're, running around and making sure customers have a great time, or, getting ready to start really early shift and get on the phone to all those people that maybe have missed out. So what can they do from a systems perspective?
Yeah, I think really that's a really good one. I think there's no easy one answer for it, but I know what's not the right answer is obviously having to pay that labor cost to have someone sit there ready, wait for that game to finish, to turn everything on. What I probably would do instead is, as I mentioned about those group sizes, there's a lot of big groups that were coming through on average. So what I'd probably look at is keeping that sort of on a bespoke level where you think those games are going to fall. If it was the Euros, for example, I always probably would have those ready open for people to inquire. If it's smaller groups, you want those big ones. If you can make the big groups, and some platforms, booking platforms, you can go, the groups of 7+, 8+, 9+, up and have a kind of a enclosed off at 15+, for example, and then make sure that those are the ones that can just go and slot straight in. So then you're making the most of that 10-minute window that I've just said. So you've got that open, but then you're allowing the other groups out that fall outside of that to inquire, so that you're not missing out on that. And again, that data, linking back to obviously for Airship, again, that data, if they just inquire and then you can't get book for whatever reason, that auto-confirm fills up, then again you've still got that data capture. And one thing I've said to a couple of clients back for the World Cup is then using that data from the ones that couldn't book. Don't just focus on the ones that could book. But the ones that couldn't book, they could be a group that you can, by segmentation, you can have a look at, okay, which ones didn't go ahead. Using something like Airship is making sure that the message and the campaign that you use behind it saying you didn't get to book an hour into one of our venues for the World Cup or the Euros. Well, the Lionesses are playing. Why don't you get in early and beat the rush? And then because you're going to fill up, but then you're also, that's again the added value. It's that giving something to those that didn't get that opportunity to book in.
And I think that's the difference between that data's there, isn't it? Ultimately they've gone and tried. It's somewhere sat in your booking system or wherever it might be. Utilize it, and it's a great idea. It's a great journey where you can encourage that future booking when you collect a deposit as well, even better. But for those people maybe that almost like you could even treat it as a bit of a guest recovery. You didn't get to come. Book for X amount or spend X amount and get this. And it's all about just seeing that spend uplift. It's guaranteed. If someone's walking through the door, whatever you're giving them away, supposing you're not giving away thousands of pounds, they're always going to spend more.
If you were a venue right now, and let's say you've got all this data and it's sat in, if it's sat in Airship, again from those 16 touch points, which by the way I didn't know there was that many that you guys
I think there might be 17 now as well. I should probably count.
Doing self-service. No, so if you're a venue, you've got all those touch points and they're all linking into your CRM. Now you've got all that stuff from the Euros, and you've seen all these kind of uplifts that we've been talking about. What would be your angle or your messaging, and whether you'd use Toggle or not? But what would you say what venues can do? What's their angle? What's their message that we're using that data to get them to book for Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It kind of, I guess there's two ways of looking at it. Did the customer join the database for the first time off the back of the Euros? In which case, was it because they made a booking? Was it because they Wi-Fi? Whatever the source was. When a new contact is created in Airship, it can set up a welcome journey. So, a really nice way of doing it is maybe even after the event, thank you so much for celebrating with us for the Euros, or it could just be a sort of more generic any time of the year welcome journey. But because that they've been in venue, that sort of messaging you send out to them can be a little bit different to someone signing up via the website or something.
Yeah.
Because it's, you've been in the venue, how was your experience? And then having that kind of guest recovery or guest incentive journey off the back of the feedback they might leave.
Yeah.
So really simply, bring it down to basics. Customer leaves the venue, following day they receive a feedback email. Thanks so much for coming. Please leave some feedback. Love to hear from you. They leave the feedback using something like Feed It Back or something similar. That feeds back into Airship. And a really lovely journey is, let's say it's a positive review, which could be set as anything above 9 out of 10. And they automatically get a message back saying, thanks for being a great customer. We love that you had a great time. We're looking forward to seeing you again. Maybe an incentive if you want, but you don't have to. But the nice bit about it is if anyone's sort of below 5, maybe 5 out of 10, automatic reply goes out to someone to say, really sorry you didn't have a great experience. Here's £10 gift card to spend next time you come in. Maybe a short validity date, so they have to come in soon.
Yeah.
You drive that next visit. On average, and this is a stat from the lovely Feed It Back guys, they saw, or we together saw, the redemption rate on a recovery gift card is about 80%.
Oh, wow.
That's higher than I thought it would be, actually.
Yeah, it's massive. And the uplift of spend for someone on that visit is 100%.
Wow.
So you give someone a £10 gift card, they're going to spend 20.
Yeah.
And the chances are, and there's more reporting from Feedback as well actually, was that the chances are really high that you actually change that detractor into a promoter of your business. So there's so many benefits to actually utilising the data you get from the Euros, from any event, really, any visit.
And I think you can then use that again. You've then won back a customer from them, and then once you've won them back, then that's where you can then retarget them for Christmas, and then again bring that back. So if there is that sort of that window where you have got people who have said less than 5, for example, then you can win them back and drive that way. So hopefully, therefore, smash your Christmas targets that you continually do. Things like that.
I think that journey is so important as well, and you can do it sort of within booking systems, is asking someone for their feedback, because often, we are human. We want to give someone 100% of the time. It doesn't always work out that way, unfortunately, for whatever reason. Things can go awry sometimes, and that's just life. But it's about being proactive in solving that issue as opposed to reactive. So, if we take all of these steps to get people's feedback before they just, people just want to be heard. And often if we're not asking people for their feedback and we're not utilising the data or the systems that we have in place to make that work for us, it's not necessarily about reaching out personally. I would say probably for bigger groups, I would like to reach out personally and just to drive that loyalty and that sort of relationship with those. But, your smaller ones, which we say the systems should do the work on, it's about making sure we mitigate those things and letting people be heard and say, and it's great for venues to get that feedback and know that, okay, actually, we didn't hit the mark this time, and there's some really quick fixes here that we can implement straight away. And it's about it before it sort of gets online and snowballs, and we can't get those customers back because we didn't give them the chance to speak to us firsthand.
Absolutely, and it's about trying to avoid it to go online, right? Because the indirect impact of that, Rosa's tie is a nice example of someone who uses that journey I just sort of explained, Feed It Back. But with the positive reviews, their automated reply through Airship is, thank you so much for the review. Do you mind sharing this on Google? And I think they give out like free prawn crackers or something, or something a little
which is delicious.
I would definitely, rewrite it and put it on Google. But there's a really simple call to action. You click on it, you put it on Google, and they actually improved their rating on Google by 400%.
Which is so important.
It's huge, absolutely. So, and that's that indirect impact. So, it's not word of mouth kind of indirect word of mouth. But someone, if I'm looking for somewhere to go, even in London where I live, I always Google, best Thai restaurant in Clapham or whatever, wherever I'm going.
Yeah.
So it's so important to have that positive review.
And you look for those ratings, don't you? Like, admittedly, you sort of say, okay, anything, about 4.4, I'm a bit more interested in. You sort of, you segment the restaurants you're interested in, or bars and stuff, based on those reviews.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, now our glasses are swapped up.
Oh.
Let's get back into it.
Cheers. Oh my God, smash the glasses.
So, going back into it. So, Lucy, what do you think is a really effective sales, whether reactive or proactive sales technique using CRM to drive pre-book sales?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about segmentation. So many, if you think of yourselves as a consumer and you receive an email or a text or WhatsApp or whatever channel of communication you get, and it doesn't resonate with you, we are literally blasted with so much content now through video, Instagram, TikTok, Reels, everything. We just scroll past it. Yeah. So it needs to be really capturing, and the only way to do that is to tailor what you send to people. Yeah. So I think that segmentation tool is so important. I mean, a really simple example is you can use our suppression tools within Airship, where, let's say, for example, you've got a lovely venue like this where they've got a really quiet weekend coming up, or Quiet Wednesday, or anything, and you suppress everybody who's got a live booking with you. Now, we integrate with about 10 different booking platforms on Airship, so probably one of the leading ones out there.
Yeah.
And you can suppress anyone who's got a live booking and essentially send out an email or an SMS to everybody who hasn't, to, first of all, either incentivize them to make a booking, get that footfall in. Last minute bookings are so important, but also make sure you're not cannibalizing that existing revenue that's already coming. You don't want to go out to someone accidentally who has got a booking. So I think really just utilizing the segmentation tools to do that, at the same time as personalizing the message that goes out.
Yeah, for sure. I know we've worked with you guys before with clients where we've moved away from perhaps some of those platforms that don't necessarily do the automation, the segmentation, the suppression part of it. We work with clients to make sure that they get onto your platform and actually therefore use it properly and to therefore drive sales as well. So it works, and we've seen it work with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
We have some great joint customers. But how do you do it? What sort of sales techniques do you recommend?
Yeah, I think it's, I'm all about segmentation as well, especially within proactive, because I think proactive is such a big topic. I could honestly talk about it for a long time, because I think a lot of people are still very scared of proactive sales, and it can seem daunting, talking to people. And it goes back to a really common misconception that people have about proactive these days, in that we're still living in a time, unfortunately, and I think we are moving away from it. Our systems have done so much work with AI and that growth and integration also. But now it's about shifting our perspective personally and within people in how we move proactive on, because I think there are still a lot of people out there that see proactive as knocking on doors or taking an empty bottle of wine and getting them to bring it back for a full one. And those things worked, albeit probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they don't work now, because COVID really stamped that out. You had a long time of not being able to just go into venues or go into offices and things like that. And I think it's about understanding that proactive isn't this big scary thing where you have to talk to people you don't know all the time. It's utilizing your data and that segmented data, and you can be proactive in many ways. It's not just cold selling or cold calling and things like that. It's actually let your system work hard so you can work smarter.
Yeah, absolutely. Work less.
Yeah,
work hard.
absolutely.
No, not work less, work hard. That's not right.
Work hard. But also, and speak to those people who actually do want to hear from you. You utilize marketing and CRM as your lead gen, and target people that way. And if you are, it is still super important to reach out to people. You're going to only grow your venue and your brand by reaching out to new customers all the time. And there are many points that do that. Your Wi-Fi, but that's relying on people coming in. If you've got the beauty of having a sales team or a sales manager, sales exec, whatever it be in your venue, even maybe a host that has an interest in speaking to people, utilize those people and start reaching out to people, but in a way where people want to hear from you. So absolutely build a database, utilize your data that you've already got, but continue building those databases of people that don't know about you, but segment them. So, what is the key? I think first and foremost, it's about understanding why you're reaching out to people. So are we reaching out because we want to grow our private hires? We want to grow big business, big corporate business, because we're in the city and we know we've got loads of corporates around us. Great, let's start building our corporate database. And we segment it in that sort of ABC. Maybe your largest offices around you, closest to you, then largest offices maybe a little bit away from you, maybe 2-3 miles. It's about understanding your doorstep to destinational marketing. I can go into so much, but segmentation is such a big thing, and also understanding that proactive is not a big scary thing, and you can be proactive in other ways than just reaching out coldly. It's about upselling to people or talking to people that want to hear from you, and utilizing other platforms, LinkedIn or things like that. So I feel like I could talk about this for a long time.
I think you really hit the nail on the head, just around using that segmentation from as a lead gen, and then trying to find ways to convert it, make sure it's relevant to what you're targeting. And I think it's then about again, you touched on that proactive. It's not just knocking on doors. It's not just about those cold corporates or things like that. It's about working with what you've got around. Can you have that proactive mindset that's more than just that? It's more about, can you squeeze an extra bit of budget out of people that are already interested in your menu? And when we were talking about your existing database and targeting them, it's we've done work before where we've seen and worked with other companies around. It's about 6 to 7 times cheaper and easier to retain, and you will know this, to retain existing customers than it is to find new ones. So there's always 10 things you can do proactively with your existing customer database that you could just drive sales before it comes to that.
And keep those leads warm and hot as well. And I think, that's a really nice point. We talk about, in the hospitality world, loads of, ROI constantly floats around. What's our ROI? What's our return on investment here? We talk about it if we're paying for a system, if we're paying for a platform to use. But we should think about ROI in our people's time. If we're sending people out, if we're telling people, go and, I just need you to focus on proactive and go out and get these customers. First and foremost, that's quite wishy-washy. How do we do that? What do we do? And then we're not going to see an ROI on that. Think we get asked, quite a lot, we just need to drive proactive sales, and it's about not so much doing that for our clients or their customers. It's about teaching them ways that will generate a good ROI for them, because cold calling people is not going to generate the ROI that you need, because often as well, people talk about doing proactive sales because we're trying to fill a gap. It goes back to our pre-planning. Let's plan, let's let our systems work hard, let's get the business in. And our proactive should be really planning so far in advance, like Christmas, great. In January, we do bounce backs. That's pre-planning, that's part of our proactive outreach. That's getting all of those lovely Christmas bookings back in again, and also giving them incentive to book this year, especially those big corporates that are going to book, before March, really. And then we get to our summer point, which is where we're sitting now. And it's about being proactive. What are the steps we can take to fill those dates? And hopefully a lot of our clients are, filling up those peak dates really nicely. And we're now talking about how do we fill off peak and what's the offer? How do we talk to people?
No, I think you're leaning into some really great techniques and stuff. And one of the things that we often do is a lot of what you've been saying, Liv, is around giving the venues and giving whether it's the operations team or the sales team in particular. So giving them the tools and the empowerment to go and do it. When I mentioned earlier about the training for bumps and seats that we give to our clients, being a sort of 200%, big part of that, a big focus is around proactive. And, we're working with a leisure company called Oxygen Trampoline Park, and we're working, our training director has been training every single park, and about 40 people will go, their entire operations team around sort of that in-sale proactiveness, but also, getting those, understanding who's in your neighborhood and understanding who can you tap into. So, we've been working really closely with different types of businesses on that, and that's something that we're seeing a lot of successes in, and we've got some really great examples and testimonials about how that's worked. And I think going through that whole motion of you using sort of suppression techniques that you were talking about as well, what you were talking about how they're filling those gaps, that's a really good bit, using segmentation and data, and then also making sure that it's driving the correct lead gen about how you convert it. But it's also making sure that and you talked about the different styles of businesses, that A, B, C, of the, you know, the big massive ones, the middle ones, and maybe the smaller ones. But let's not forget about those team nights out. There's still people doing team nights out. There's not those massive corporates because COVID changed that, right?
Yeah.
So those team nights out, again, they might be slightly smaller. You might be looking at sort of your 10 pax teams and etc. But it's leaning into the system as well to make sure that that's working for you. So that whole marketing lead gen, conversion, all the way through to the system. And, you know, I don't need to talk to you guys too much about it, but I see so much, and with a lot of different clients that we work with, around making sure that the system is watertight. I see quite a lot of conflicting rules in systems all the time. So, you know, it's all really well and good being able to do all this stuff, and it's so important to do, because you've got to retain that loyalty. You've got to retain those customers, because they're the ones that are going to keep coming back, and making sure you're converting it, and all those efforts don't go to waste. And you guys both know, as do many of my clients and much of the Bums on Seats team know, is this whole thing of the leaking bucket. Doing all that without having a watertight bucket, then it's just kind of wasted efforts. You've got to make sure that the foundations are right so that this whole process works. And then that all ties in really nicely into then the operational delivery of it. That whole holy trinity of marketing, sales, operations, and even systems being able to support you on that.
Yeah, and I think that's why we work so closely with you guys as well, because, you know, you speak about like return on investment, which obviously, as you say, massive buzz, 3 words.
Yeah.
And, you know, for example, one thing that at Airship we absolutely bang the drum about is automations. You know, we've spoken about segmentation, and we've spoken about, you know, the fact that you understand your customer using segments, you understand your customer using visiting habits, spending habits, you know, what's their behavior with your brand, you know, across the board, all different channels. But by setting up behavior triggered customer journeys, you are sending the message out at the right time. You're sending the right type of message. It's personalized, tailored. It's got all the content in there that they're interested in. You know, a really simple example is a birthday journey, but, you know, everybody should be doing that. It's a simple
But there are people
thing.
that are not doing that.
There's so many people that are not.
And that's such a small, like a big win, which is a very small thing you can turn on very quickly.
Absolutely. Like, it's so simple. But you kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of, it's not just return on investment in terms of the system, but also in time and resource. Yeah. And we brought out about 18 months ago now that we build it for you. So a typical birthday journey generates in Airship about £13,000 per venue per year.
Oh, wow.
In additional revenue spent. So not even, you know, what they would have spent anyway. And by not setting that up, you're losing that revenue, but also by allowing our team to set it up for you, you're not eating into the resource of your marketing team, which, let's be honest, is generally pretty slim anyway. And they're doing a lot.
And even your sales team as well, you know, pulling that from your booking system, having to filter it out and then saying, okay, I'm going to contact everybody, you know, with the birthday, which is, you know, and I think it goes back to that proactive piece being almost a bit of a tick box exercise sometimes. So let the system do that for you so that you can actually proactively outreach to people that will mean so much more to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important to be as collaborative as possible, which is what you guys do so well at Bums on Seats, which is why we work well together, because you bring together, or you kind of audit and I guess explain it to the operator in a way that's just super, super simple, that the importance of collaborating ops, sales and marketing, so that you're all sending the right message, sending the same message, and working towards the same goal.
Completely. And, you know, our audits, we try to, we do a lot of, you know, what's the size of the prize? You know, what are your, you know,
that speaks to the operator.
Which everyone talks in cash. We all know, like, again, everyone reports on different things, which we see a lot of. But one thing everyone unanimously reports on is cash. So we work with you guys, we work with, you know, with sales teams, marketing teams and ops around, right, okay, so what can we do? Are they using your platform very efficiently? You know, are they utilizing the efficiencies of the sales team, etc., to say, right, okay, here are your commercial sales strategy based on various different things, whether it's loyalty, repeat visits, segmentations, and growing that through to the team, the culture, being able to make sure, and also the system, as in a booking system, for example, to really make sure that that's driving those sales. And that's how we work really closely. And in our audits, we often talk a lot about our tech stacks and the customers' tech stacks and the clients, which again, we often talk about you guys and talk about various different platforms and that whole 16 data touch points that you guys can tap
17.
into. 17.
I'm listening.
So yeah, so it's and we get I think we get to work with you guys more and more frequently, and it's always a really great, beautiful thing that we can put together.
Yeah, and I mean, just to like add to that as well, I think it's really important, as much as, you know, probably get a slap wrist to even say this, but it's so important to work with what you've got. You know, if you're not in a position to change all your tech stack in order to just integrate with your CRM, don't do it. Find one that works for you, because the importance of the integrations are far more important than the CRM, because the CRM is just an empty canvas of data unless it's working with your integrated partners. And I think, you know, feels wrong to say it, but it's true.
I think it leads really nicely sort of into process. I think it's, and I imagine, I know, you know, I think we all used to work in venues. I've been working in hospitality for 14 years.
Legally allowed to, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And, you know, behind my nan's old pub bar, which is a secret. But, you know, and coming from that operations background, it taught me so much in sales, and actually that relationship with ops and marketing, but more so ops, because often I think, especially when you work in venues and you're working for your brand, you're doing a job. And it can be hard sometimes to keep that relationship going, because we all have different processes and different things we have to keep on top of, and different drivers. But our ultimate goal is customer success, you know, and bringing those customers back. And we do all of that. I think we need to start looking at those job roles as a part of your process. So your marketing is your lead gen, your sales is all about your process and getting people through the door, and your ops is delivering, and they hold equal weight. You know, they are only as strong as each other. You're only as strong as your weakest link in no sense. So it's about having that sort of understanding, but breaking it down. And I think, like you said, about talking to ops within sort of, these are our figures, and them seeing, God, we've made all this money before we've opened the doors. You know, marketing did that, and then sales converted it, and then we're going to host it. And that's the Holy Trinity, and that's how you bring it all back together. And there are so many different processes and layers within those, but you cannot run a successful venue, you know, with high competition and all, you know, getting as much footfall through the door without those working hand in hand, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I'm sure there's an amazing analogy about a triangle somewhere, but if one of them isn't working, or let's say all three of them are working really well, that's an excellent business. And that's really where, let's not overcomplicate it, just get those three things working and you will be successful. It's as simple as that.
And together, I think it's, you know, I think audits are really great. I think they give sometimes our clients or prospective clients an insight into, actually, you know what, we didn't have that level of insight before. We weren't even really talking about that before, because sometimes people can work in isolation, which is often needed. You know, everyone is busy and got a job to deliver. But I think, and that's why I find our audits sort of so interesting, and actually where I probably learned the most from, and definitely continue to learn the most from in there, because it is really insightful, and it's so rewarding to sit in front of a client and say, you know, this is this, and you know, this is what marketing delivering, this is what sales, and this is how it equates to you, and how you deliver it, and how we can bring them sort of back together.
And this is the size of the prize, right? Like bottom line, like, you know, this is what can go into your top line, but this can go into your bottom line. And I think together we kind of cover, like, as you know, two companies, we cover that. Together we can improve top and bottom lines of companies. That's really key.
And within the Holy Trinity lies customer experience. And I think there are some really common misconceptions that customer experience starts from when people are in your venue. That's absolutely not the case. Customer experience starts from when someone first hears about or finds your venue and or brand, albeit online or, you know, through communications. And so we have to take in, and this is where the Holy Trinity starts. So your marketing is your website. Is all the information possible? Are we communicating it in a way that fits your brand? Is your brand visible? You know, do people know that that's you? Moving all the way through to sales. So how many clicks is it taking me to make a booking or make an inquiry? Do I have to click through multiple web pages? You know, having fixed widgets on multiple pages, great. all of these things that we need to take into consideration within the customer experience, making it as easy as possible and as enjoyable as possible. And then moving through to when that customer arrives, how are they greeted? Even we talked a lot about packages earlier, and making it also work for you. So within ops, serving those packages, if you've got people, and I know from my days in sales, working really hand in hand with ops, and also being ops myself, in that I think people can see packages as a real barrier, in that person's only going to spend £35 and that's what they're going to spend all night. And actually that's the operations job, in that sales and marketing have done all this fantastic work, and we've sold the product and we've got people through the door and we've got that commitment, which is fantastic. And then how ops deliver that is making sure those people get those things served as soon as possible. So if I'm on a package where I've got a couple of drinks and some food, great, we've got our service times, drink as soon as you get down to your table, so that if you've got someone like something like the Euros, and that you make sure that package is gone before half time, and that encourages that average spend per head to grow, and that's how they all sort of work together, but also making it really enjoyable and seamless for the customer.
Yeah, it's like you can do that, beat the queue for something like the Euros. Like beat that queue would be like,
Love that
really
concept.
How everything that Liv was just saying, does that differ much with hotels, do you reckon?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I have to say, hotels, we've been working with them probably about 2 years now. But a lot of the time, their tech's really archaic.
It is in hotels. I find that as well. You know, looking at those and not being able to integrate them with your booking systems and finding that barrier there.
Absolutely. And that's a barrier that, we're constantly faced with, trying to make the most of, because it doesn't matter. I mentioned earlier about, choosing the right CRM for you. But it doesn't matter what CRM you use, because if there's an archaic system and nothing's integrating, you're going to have that barrier either way. So it's just about really being smart with the data that you have. And so we work with a lot of PMS systems where we'll capture the room type. So something that you talk about proactive a lot, something you can be really proactive about is making sure that pre that check-in, you've got that journey sent out as an automated message to say, you've only booked a room only. Have you thought about coming for breakfast and lunch or dinner or anything else that you want to cross-sell? A lot of the time a hotel will have something like this. It might be a restaurant, it might be a spa, it might be golf, it might be, it could be a resort. There's loads of stuff they could have. And it's about cross-selling those other elements to your business, so that someone doesn't just come and stay and then leave. They come and they stay and they spend, and they maybe have a £5 credit at the bar, and it's about also then tracking the success of that. So we do a lot with the hotels that we work with at the moment around that, and especially when it comes to people booking, which I am a terrible person for. I regularly will go to like booking.com or Expedia or something to book my hotels, but the OTAs, so those online travel agencies, often hide or give you an alias email, which means that you don't capture that data. You can't then communicate with the customer. So there's some really clever SMS journeys we're doing with customers at the moment, where when we receive the booking, we message that customer on an SMS, say, thank you for booking, click this link to get X, but you have to input your email address, and we then override the alias.
Nice.
So it's all automated, it's all part of the algorithm you're in. But it's a really smart way of just, as you say, being proactive as both a marketing team but also a sales team to make sure you're getting that data you need and getting people to spend more when they're there.
Yeah, we have the same thing actually within bars, restaurants, pubs, in that routes to market are needed, because to get out in front of more people where you might not necessarily be. Maybe you don't have a big marketing team, maybe your SEO is not where it needs to be, but actually being on more routes to market, it's better for you, you're going to be in front of more eyes. And that's great, and you'll pay money for those systems or commission, and that's needed sometimes. But how do we then get those customers to know they can book organically, which I actually think hotels do fairly well, especially on that journey when you get that customer experience piece, and okay, I had a great stay, I'm going to book direct next time. And the hotels do it really well, where they're like, book with us direct, you get free breakfast. Book with us direct, you get sort of X, Y, or Z, or a complimentary drink at the bar, which drives bookings into. I think hotels are a little bit further ahead in that sense. And I think bringing it sort of back into our third parties and driving sort of organic bookings is one thing we can do really well, which I do find is a misstep sometimes with venues, is that they'll utilise their third parties, which is fantastic, but they only keep that data in their third parties, and they might just put the booking onto the system with no data.
which
can't do anything
which
with
then
them.
impacts, obviously, then it feeds in with you guys. I think like one thing, you know, that hotels do really well was, to your point, around almost like that bookable space element of it, right? You know, I work with a lot of, when I've worked with hotels, actually, it's been a lot of, again, going through that journey. And when I do a lot of sort of like competitive socializing venues, it's about those dwell times, you know, it's about, and there are some now booking systems out there that you can go, right, I'm going to select bowling, karaoke, you know, and then I'm going to dine and drink and everything. And, you know, I work with venues, and some venues do it really well. Like I know All Star Lanes are a really great way of doing that when you go on and when you look at that. And I think that's where we need to go. And if we're looking at other sectors, you know, again, hotels, if that's within there, but if you look outside of that, the whole, I always talk about the airline, you know, sector, where it takes like 17 clicks or something to book a flight on Ryanair.
They're trying to upsell you too much.
Every point, and they're trying to get you to do everything. So everything, your bookable area is what seats you want. So like at every single point, they're constantly either upselling or they are trying to get you to book into those, you know, those seats or those areas. And I think there are so many opportunities that sit with hotels, with associating with pubs, with rooms, and again, there's just so much scope, and I think that needs to be capitalised on for Christmas this year.
Do you know what? I think that actually we often think as cross-selling and upselling, especially within pubs, bars, restaurants, as two quite separate things. So we think of cross-selling as another venue, another date, another time, and we think of upselling on what can we do to take this booking to the next level? You know, is there a premium menu we can put them on? Is it getting them booked into a private room? Actually, these things are staying the same. You can cross-sell to your other products, which is also upselling. And you're cross-selling your times and dates, that's also upselling. You're not just closing off the customer and saying, no, sorry, we can't take you. You're upselling them. You're keeping them within your business. So, you know, think about, change your mindset and think about those two things as the same, and make sure you do both.
Yeah. I mean, segueing ever so slightly, but it kind of comes onto that, and you mentioned it earlier, that it's so much easier to keep your existing customer base happy and retain them. Long-term picture, they spend a hell of a lot more with you than someone who visits you once a year. So there's this whole, in the industry at the moment, loads of talk about loyalty. You know, how do we do loyalty? What is loyalty? And everyone's kind of got ever so slightly different look on it. But ultimately, loyalty is when someone is loyal to your brand. So, you know, I'll speak for myself. I have the Pret subscription.
Oh, I love the Pret subscription.
It's great.
Shout out Pret.
Shout out Pret. But you know, it actually pains me to then pay for a coffee outside of it. Like I'm like, oh God, someone wants to have a meeting somewhere else. But you know, I wouldn't necessarily, and I absolutely love Pret, I wouldn't necessarily say that I am loyal to the brand.
Yes.
I think loyal to the brand is a different thing to visit frequency. Visit frequency, if you're looking to encourage loyalty over time and actually have someone to be like, you know, that I'm never going to go anywhere else, because that's so hard to actually accomplish. We are a saturated market in hospitality. We're all fighting for the same thing, all fighting for the same customers. But a focus really as a business should be on, how do I drive that next visit? How do I increase visits? Because if you know your spend per head is X, every visit they make is Y, why are we not just focusing on that? And that's really where, we've spoken about it loads here, but like sales, marketing and ops can really work together to ensure the experience in venue is amazing. You're being proactive with your sales and encouraging more events and more corporate bookings and more bookings in general. And actually the messaging going out through marketing is, you know, coherent with all of that. You don't necessarily need a loyalty program, but maybe you do, it depends on your business. And it's just about knowing the options out there. You don't need a loyalty system to accomplish that.
Yeah. I think loyalty or frequency of visit lends really nicely to what we spent quite a bit of time talking about in segmenting. You know, how we communicate or how we treat corporates as opposed to sort of a B2C is going to be quite different. You know, if we're booking for generally going out with friends, or it's your local, you know, you live in a bit more of a suburban area, or, you know, you're going to maybe visit those places a little bit more. But if I'm a corporate, I'm going to go once, maybe twice a year. And that's a really big win. It's about understanding the value of that business and understanding what that would mean to you. So if we can get corporates to visit just one more time, what is the value of that and how do we get that to happen? And that's that loyalty, and also loyalty can sometimes be, okay, they're only going to book one time a year, but the loyalty is, they're going to book with us every Christmas. So Lucy, we've talked a lot about AI and tech and the growth of that. What's the innovation, what's on the horizon for tech and AI now?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, like literally everywhere you turn, everyone's talking about AI, which is great because it's something that we all need to harness, we all need to understand. I've still got a long way to go in terms of hitting the nail on the head, understanding it, because it's so rapidly growing and so rapidly changing. It's impossible to be an expert unless it's your job.
Or you're a computer.
Or you're a robot. But I mean, in terms of Airship and Toggle, we are, as we sort of spoke about, we are doing a bit of a relaunch. So we've got a new launch that encompasses us moving to the new Amazon AWS and Amazon Web Server. So it's, the way I think about it, as I'm not a techie person, is basically like, instead of you trying to get the whole of the New York traffic going down one lane, you're opening up and it's like a motorway. It's just going to be faster, it's better, it's the next generation of CRM for hospitality. And alongside that, we are launching a load of new features. Some of them are actually already available, but we're just sort of doing a little bit bigger highlight on it.
Yeah.
And that's going to come down to like visit targeting. So really harnessing the fact that you understand a customer has visited 10 times and therefore doing that surprise and delight element, making sure you're going out to them as an automation to say thank you and incentivize that next visit.
So important.
It's so important. There's loads of other things coming as well. So, as I say, watch the space.
So, no secret.
Lots of secrets.
We know them.
But it's really exciting. Like, I'm really, really excited by it. But the really key thing about AI is that we're launching, and we already have it available, the AI Flight Assist, which is kind of what we're calling it. So it will basically be, it's using OpenAI, so there's no personal data that's being shared with the likes of for GDPR purposes. It's really just harnessing the idea of what you've got already in your database. So, asking questions, and it's literally an open forum basically. So asking questions like, tell me what audience spent the most money last Christmas with a table of more than 6 people and ordered rioja. It can be as granular as that. And then off the back of that, finding that audience, creating a segment, sending them an actual email, and it's making it super simple to target that audience. The technology's there now, so use it.
It is there. I think that's so great for hospitality because we know it's there. I can't tell you how many notifications I get for my Nectar card.
Yeah.
And your Sainsbury's officer in, like, oh, looking for something amazing. It's all the things I bought in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We know that data is there and it's being used, and it's really great to know that hospitality is catching up to that place because it will be super important for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to look at those industries, supermarkets, retail. If you go onto the likes of ASOS, for example, you'll be shown things that you like. You'll be shown things that you've looked at, you put in your basket, you put in your wish list. You haven't yet bought, but you've left it in your basket. And it's all customized now. And that is where hospitality will be. But we can't forget the fact that hospitality is also about the experience you have in the venue, which is all about the human beings.
I agree. It's what I said earlier. It's, hospitality and hospitality tech should always enhance. Should never replace. Should always enhance. You've got to always have that bit. And that's one thing that I think people get a lot scared of.
So what about you guys in terms of bums and seats? Like, where do you see future trends, technology, innovation going? What have you seen?
I think, I work with a lot of different types of businesses, everything from, working very closely with you guys, but working with, various different platforms and businesses. I think, on a more immediate side of things, I think you'll see that there'll be a lot more talk about collating different data touch points in different dashboards. Certain companies that own a lot of products might do that. But I think there's some innovation out there. You've already tapped into the idea of AI and how you guys are going to use it. I think we've already talked about how much we're going to use it and how much it might become a point of our daily lives. But I think there are going to be things that will come through, and watch this space. But there will be things that will come through around the use of AI, use of data, and how what does that look like? What are the things that you need to be looking at in order to grow those sales? So I think there are lots of different things that will be coming up, and lots of things that will be innovative. And I think we're on a journey. I think in the next 5 years, hospitality will not be the same as we know it right now. And I think we've got there's There's a lot of stuff that's going to happen, and if you just have to look at other sectors. You have to just look at, from a VR perspective. I know that, something I was talking about with actually someone at Zonal a couple of years ago was, just how like Mac, for example, you can have VR where you can try on the lipstick online type thing. Hospitality's not there. And I think you just have to look at those sort of sectors to know it's going to grow. And I think there's a lot of innovation to happen. And as I say, watch the space.
I think actually you touched on Zonal, so I will just add something that I learned only this week. Obviously, Airship and Bums are now owned by Zonal, so I should probably have known it before now.
You've been busy, Luci.
I've been busy, girl. So something I learned literally this week was that it's so common that when you're on the floor in operation, someone might call the actual restaurant or bar, whatever, and you're not there to answer it, which we're all human. But where AI can really complement that and avoid losing the sale or losing it to someone else nearby is with Zonal's like table and event booking system.
Yeah.
If someone calls and it's not answered, it's an automated thing that says, are you looking to book a table or do you want to leave a voicemail? And if you select press 1, you want to leave a booking, you're basically just using AI technology, book the table over the phone with a computer, and it automatically feeds into the system, which I might be, super old and not know about this, but I feel like that's revolutionary because when I was working in a bar and a restaurant many, many years ago, that would have been incredibly helpful.
I think it is. UKH released a report in the last quarter of 2023, which was 35% of people are still booking over the phone. It goes back into our point of, I think, people buying to people, or maybe it goes back into the point of maybe you haven't quite got your customer journey online right yet. So having those things, and when we talk about it quite a lot with our clients, in your phone system being set up in a way, press 1 should always be bookings. We want to encourage that. We want to make sure they're coming through to the right place. And also making sure that if you don't integrate with that particular system, but there are lots of systems out there within the phone world that will allow voicemails to feed into emails, which, and I know a lot of general managers and ops will have on their phone and be able to pick up quite quickly if your sales team or whoever, your hosts are not in place. But if you do have a host, great, it will come straight to the email that's on the laptop at the front door. It means, that you're capturing all points of data. So I think that's fantastic.
Okay, we have come out with some great information, but what are the key takeaways? Liv, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of ground, but I think a key takeaway for me and my main bulk of being sales is get ahead of the curve for Christmas. Start now. We're in summer holiday period. We know a lot of people are going to be going away. We're about to hit our nice sort of lull where we can get our ducks in a row, and change your mindset of proactive now. Because it's not about that cold calling. It's about being organised and knowing that, great, okay, I've got these dates filled, but I need to fill these dates. I've got a fantastic product and I've got this portion of data, whether it be from your CRM where you've already reached out maybe early on in the year where you can see who's opened and clicked through, and maybe we reach out to those people first. We reach out to our past booking data, that segmentation in that sort of manual proactive piece. Get ahead of the curve now and plan that out, and also have your database ready for all those people that don't know about your brand yet. Introduce them to the fantastic things that you sell and that you deliver on site. That will be really key for you this year, and it will help grow your business in the years to come.
Yeah.
I think my one would be, looking at, we've spoken about quite a lot, one of our buzzwords we've been throwing around is Holy Trinity. I think whilst it's really important to make sure they're all aligned, don't forget that you have to, especially around Christmas and coming out the year, you have to make sure that they all work together in order for you all to succeed. One person succeeds, you all succeed. And I think, and making sure that at the heart of it is you've got to make sure your systems are watertight, because you can't have, again, go back to that leaking bucket, you can't have, you have to have all that functioning in order to really be able to optimize it. That whole process we went through from marketing to lead gen all the way through to sales and systems and back round again, you have to make sure that and the deliverables, and you have to make sure that you're able to facilitate all that need, all that demand that you're going to get and capitalize on from the euros. Would be my thing, is making sure that you all work together.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
And Lucy?
It's got to come back to data for me. Utilise the data. running up to Christmas, making sure that you are, a lot of the time people have thousands and thousands and thousands of contacts in their database that are all customers. They will come at some point in their days, or they've signed up to be interested. Utilize that for both sales and to encourage, gift card sales running up to Christmas. Get those, special offers out to your database.
Yeah.
Make sure you've got those pre-visit and post-visit messages going out, so that it's behavior triggered and it's touching those people at the right time with the right message. Get your automation set up. It is going to generate you revenue with your eyes closed. I don't know why people don't do it. It's such a good opportunity to drive revenue. So yeah, I would just say, in conjunction with all of those things that you just said, use your data.
Yes.
And yeah, on that note, should we finish the wine?
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to finish.
Cheers. Nice to speak to you both.
Yes.
Nice to see you.